Let's get straight to the point. India and China are not just countries, they are civilizations, home to nearly a third of humanity. As nuclear-armed neighbors and economic giants, their relationship is one of the most consequential and complex on the planet. Their shared border, stretching over 3,400 kilometers, is mostly undemarcated and fiercely contested, making it a flashpoint for military standoffs. But their rivalry extends far beyond the Himalayas, into the Indian Ocean, global institutions, and even the technology in our hands. Every move is scrutinized, fueling a dynamic of competition and uneasy cooperation. China is one of India's largest trading partners, yet a massive trade deficit and strategic mistrust persist. The Belt and Road Initiative clashes with India's Indo-Pacific vision, making them rivals in Asia but partners on global issues like climate change. The deadly Galwan Valley clash in 2020 shattered a fragile peace, deepening mistrust and prompting India to boost military and economic self-reliance. Today, the relationship is at its most difficult phase in decades, a delicate tightrope walk with global consequences. For anyone watching world affairs, this is the story to follow. To understand the present, we must look to the past. India and China's story began centuries ago, with the Silk Road and the spread of Buddhism. Indian monks traveled to China, while Chinese scholars journeyed to India, forging deep cultural ties. After India's independence, hopes for brotherhood faded quickly as border disputes emerged. The 1962 war was a turning point. China's victory left a deep scar on India and froze relations for years. It took until 1988, with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's visit to Beijing, to restart dialogue and agree to separate the border issue from other ties. The 1990s and 2000s saw agreements to keep peace along the line of actual control, allowing trade and cultural exchanges to grow. But the border dispute never disappeared. It just simmered beneath the surface. Recent years have shown that this fragile balance can't hold forever. The unresolved border has returned to haunt the relationship, fueling new tensions. The past is never far away in India-China relations. History shapes every move they make today. The heart of the conflict is the border, specifically the Line of Actual Control, or LAC. It's not a legal border, but a ceasefire line with disputed alignment, leading to frequent face-offs. The border is split into three sectors: Western, Ladakh, Aksai, Chin; Middle, Himachal, Uttarakhand; and Eastern, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim. The Western sector is the most contentious, with China controlling Aksai, Chin, vital for its connectivity, but claimed by India. The Middle sector sees minor disputes, but is relatively stable. The Eastern sector is volatile in rhetoric. China claims Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet, but India rejects this outright. The McMahon Line serves as the de facto border in the east, though China never officially recognized it. While some areas are quiet, the ambiguity of the LAC means no part of the border is truly stable. Infrastructure buildup on both sides only adds to the tension. The border dispute is the core issue, unresolved, unpredictable, and always simmering. It's the flashpoint that shapes everything else. Two recent standoffs shattered decades of uneasy peace. In 2017, the Doklam crisis erupted, not on Indian or Chinese soil, but in Bhutan, where China's road building threatened India's vital Siliguri corridor. India intervened, leading to a tense 73-day standoff before both sides disengaged. Doklam showed India's willingness to act assertively, even beyond its borders. But Galwan Valley in 2020 was a turning point. In Ladakh, a brutal clash with nail-studded clubs left 20 Indian soldiers dead and unknown Chinese casualties. It was the deadliest conflict in decades, destroying trust and ending the old rules of engagement. India responded with a massive military buildup along the border. The fragile peace was over. The relationship entered a deep freeze. Galwan proved the border dispute could no longer be separated from the rest of the relationship. Now, peace on the border is a prerequisite for any normal ties. The old framework is gone, replaced by suspicion and readiness for escalation. These standoffs have fundamentally changed India's strategic calculus. The risk of conflict is real, and the world is watching. The stakes have never been higher. For years, India hoped booming trade would stabilize relations. Trade soared to over $135 billion by 2022, but the deficit ballooned. India imports far more than it exports. This dependency, especially in critical sectors, became a security concern. The Galwan clash was a wake-up call. Economic ties could be weaponized. India responded by banning Chinese apps like TikTok and WeChat, citing security and privacy. It was a digital strike, a clear message to Beijing. India launched Atmanirbhar Bharat, pushing for self-reliance and policies to boost domestic manufacturing. Scrutiny of Chinese investments increased, and efforts to diversify supply chains gained momentum. Decoupling isn't easy, but India is now focused on reducing vulnerabilities. The old belief in trade as a stabilizer is gone. National security now shapes economic policy. The economic front is as contested as the border. The rivalry stretches far beyond land borders into the Indo-Pacific. China's Belt and Road Initiative, especially the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, challenges India's sovereignty and influence. India fears encirclement by China's string of pearls ports and bases across the Indian Ocean. In response, India has strengthened its navy and deepened ties with neighbors. The Quad, India, US, Japan, and Australia, emerged as a key forum to counterbalance China. India champions freedom of navigation in the South China Sea, aligning with the US and Southeast Asian nations. India's Neighborhood First and SAGAR policies aim to offer alternatives to Chinese influence. Strategic partnerships and military modernization are central to India's approach. The Indo-Pacific is now the main arena for their geopolitical contest. India seeks a multipolar Asia, not a Sino-centric one. The chessboard is vast, and the game is only intensifying. Despite rivalry, cooperation isn't impossible. In BRICS, India and China push for reforming global financial institutions and have co-founded the New Development Bank. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization offers a rare platform for dialogue even when bilateral ties are tense. On climate change, both have advocated for common but differentiated responsibilities, pressing developed nations to do more. Their shared leadership of the Global South sometimes brings them together in international forums. Before 2020, educational exchanges, tourism, and business travel fostered some mutual understanding. Even during the pandemic, there were moments of medical cooperation. These are small islands of collaboration in a sea of competition. The relationship isn't zero-sum, there's room for pragmatic engagement. But cooperation is always fragile and easily overshadowed by mistrust. The border is just one of many friction points. China's close partnership with Pakistan, including military and nuclear support, is a major irritant for India. China's repeated use of its UN veto to shield Pakistan-based terrorists deepens mistrust. Water is a new flashpoint. China controls the headwaters of major rivers flowing into India, and its dam projects raise fears of water diversion. There's no formal water-sharing treaty, and data transparency is lacking. China blocks India's bid for a permanent UN Security Council seat, using procedural tactics to stall reform. In technology, India has excluded Chinese firms from 5G trials over security concerns. The massive trade deficit and lack of market access for Indian goods remain unresolved. Economic and technological disputes are now central to the rivalry. The list of disagreements keeps growing, feeding a cycle of suspicion. So where do we go from here? The immediate priority is disengagement and de-escalation along the LAC. Restoring the status quo of April 2020 is non-negotiable for India. Persistent dialogue and rebuilding military confidence are essential. Economically, India must reduce vulnerabilities, diversify supply chains, and boost domestic manufacturing. Full decoupling isn't practical, but strategic de-risking is. Trade in non-sensitive areas should continue, balancing security with pragmatism. Strategically, India pursues autonomy, building its own capabilities while partnering with like-minded countries through forums like the Quad. India avoids formal alliances, keeping flexibility to engage with all major powers, including China, when needed. The future will be defined by military readiness, economic resilience, and smart diplomacy. People-to-people ties, once the border stabilizes, can help reduce animosity. Managing this relationship is India's greatest foreign policy challenge. There are no easy answers, only a perilous peace to be carefully navigated. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. The story of India and China is far from over.